Hey there, welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you, and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. What we're going to get into, the Niners have been linked to a couple of the top remaining free agents, and all of these players, in a way, make sense for San Francisco in some way, shape, or form. And we're going to talk about four players here in particular on today's program. Wide receiver Gabe Davis. He was just released on Wednesday, May 7th by the Jacksonville Jaguars as I record this show on May 8th. Asante Samuel Jr., the cornerback, formerly of the Los Angeles Chargers, one of the top overall players left in free agency. Jadeveon Clowney, edge rusher, he was released today by the Carolina Panthers, so he's going to have to find a new home. And then C.J. Mosley, linebacker, who has been one of the top linebackers in the game over the last several years, and he has ties to Robert Saleh. And let's begin with the first man on your screen. That's wide receiver Gabe Davis, who is a former fourth-round pick out of Central Florida. He ended up being a very good weapon for Josh Allen. He turned those performances into getting a bag from the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they gave him $39 million. And a little more than a year after signing that deal, the Jags released him, and it is going to be a post-June 1 cut. Of note, it's because of a failed physical. He only played 10 games last year because of a knee injury, so that's a little bit of a concern. And we talked about Gabe Davis on yesterday's show because John Feliciano, former Niners offensive lineman, tweeted this out, that Gabe Davis would be a perfect fit for the Niners. I really like his size at 6'2", 225 pounds, and of course, that knee injury, him failing that physical, that is a little bit of a concern. But he's only 26 years old, really good for Buffalo from 2020 through 2023, and the Jags tried to make a big splash move in free agency 2 cycles ago by signing him, but clearly they wanted to move on, and they moved on very quickly after signing him to that large contract. And his career in Buffalo, very, very solid. Is he a number 1? No. Is he a very good number 2 or number 3? Yes. Rookie year, second year, third year, fourth year, he put up some very solid numbers. You look at the yards receiving year by year, 599, 549, 836 his career high in 2022, 746, and then he only played in 10 games, 9 starts in 2024 for the Jags, and he had 20 catches for 239 yards. One of the constants with Gabe Davis is that the yards per catch numbers, impressive. He finds the end zone a lot. He can run 4.5 guy for his size. He's a good sideline perimeter wide receiver who can use his physicality to his advantage, hand fighting, body control, overall size to create separation. And again, with how big he is, he does run pretty well. A cool stat for Gabe Davis, he has the NFL record for the most touchdowns scored in a playoff game. That was back in 2021 when he popped off with Josh Allen. And in 2 playoff games, ridiculous production. 13 targets, 10 catches, 242 yards, 5 touchdowns. 4 of them came in that one playoff game. And a reason why I wanted to talk about Gabe Davis is because this wide receiver position is certainly an interesting one for the Niners. We're not sure when Brandon Ayuk is going to come back. When he is healthy, he's an all-pro caliber player, and he's wide receiver 1. But he suffered that awful knee injury in October of last season. So he could start the year on PUP. There were some recent images of him at that golf outing for the Niners, and the quad definition on that injured leg looked pretty good, but you can't rush that back. It was ACL, MCL, and other structural damage. And so if Ayuk misses some time, Ricky Pearsall becomes wide receiver 1, maybe Juwan Jennings becomes wide receiver 1. Either way, they're better suited as a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3. Pearsall had a few good games last year in his rookie season. Obviously, it was impacted by him getting shot in the chest, but the jury is out on him, right? Juwan Jennings has 1 great year of production. Outside of that, you have Demarcus Robinson, who's a very solid number 3 or number 4. You drafted Jordan Watkins. He can run a 4.3. Jacob Cowing was a 4th-round pick last year. The Niners are said to like Tariq Owens, Russell Gage, Isaiah Hodgins, Isaiah Nayer, Junior Bergen, other players who do have some intriguing sets of skills. Isaiah Nayer, 6'4", 220, ran a 4.4 40-yard dash coming out of Nebraska. You went to Wyoming and Texas before that. And Junior Bergen is more of a return man who the Niners drafted in the 7th round. But you get where I'm getting at, right? That's a lot of question marks, what ifs, and potential possibilities at the wide receiver spot for the Niners. So Gabe Davis, good scheme fit. He is not afraid to get in your grill as a run blocker. I think Kyle Shanahan would really like him. If the knee checks out, he becomes an interesting name because of the uncertainty around Brandon Ayuk. Sorry to interrupt this great video, but here's a reminder to subscribe to us here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. I give you videos every single day that are informative, insightful, thought-provoking, entertaining, where you have a voice. And when news happens, I always discuss it. NFL.com listing the Niners as the best fit for this man to my right. That is Asante Samuel Jr., very good perimeter cornerback for the Los Angeles Chargers. 2nd-round pick out of Florida State a few years ago. I really like Florida State corners. Renardo Green, Jalen Ramsey, Deion Sanders back in the day. Azareye'h Thomas was drafted early in the draft. Asante Samuel Jr., another one of those really good players from that program. Good ball skills, good instincts, NFL bloodlines. His dad, Asante Samuel Sr., very good player for a long time. And you take a look at the headshot here. They look almost identical. And here's what NFL.com had to say about Samuel Jr. to the Niners and why among the remaining free agents, the best fit for him, this Niners defense under Robert Saleh. San Francisco makes sense for Samuel for 2 reasons. One is that he's likely to be available at a very affordable price now that the draft is passed. The other is that the Niners are thin at cornerback. They lost Charvarius Ward, Rock Ya-Sin, Isaac Yiadom from last year's team, and they play a zone-heavy system that could allow Samuel to flourish. The big knocks on Samuel after his 4 seasons with the Chargers were his tackling and lack of consistency in press coverage. He also dealt with a lingering neck and shoulder injury that limited him to 4 games last year and continued to dog him earlier this offseason. If the Niners could land Samuel on a 1-year prove-it deal, he might flourish under defensive coordinator Robert Saleh and create a chance for a massive long-term deal. Samuel is only 25, one of the best remaining free agent targets on the market. This could be a win-win for both sides. I think this would be a great pickup for the Niners. I'm a believer in the player. I liked him in the pre-draft process. There was a reason why he was drafted high. He's had double-digit pass breakup seasons whenever he's been able to play a full season. That's every year except for this past year. The shoulder, neck, stinger, injury issues, they are a little bit of a concern. And one thing, if I were a coach, that I would always do, cater to a player's skill sets. Put them in a position to succeed. Asante Samuel Jr. isn't good press man coverage. You know where he flourishes? Playing zone. You know which defense has the #1 zone rate since 2017 when Kyle Shanahan got hired? The San Francisco 49ers. And Kyle Shanahan was asked about Deommodore Lenoir, and we're not sure if he's going to play inside or outside this upcoming season. And Samuel primarily plays on the outside. I'm always a fan of taking a chance on a really good player on a prove-it deal. So here's what Shanahan said about Lenoir. We're going to still play it out. I think Demo is great inside. I think he's great outside. We probably see Upton Stout definitely as an inside player. Kyle Shanahan, I agree with that. So that was a big need. The way it fell, especially in the draft, but Demo can do either. But I think it's easier for a guy when he can stay at one spot. So we will work that through OTAs in camp and see how it ends up. Lenoir can play inside-outside. He's very good at both those positions. Upton Stout primarily is an inside corner. That's where he's best suited. Samuel, as I said, is best suited on the outside. And those double-digit PBU numbers. Sometimes in the pre-draft process or with football players in general, we always worry and gloat over the athletic testing numbers. for a player like Asante Samuel Jr. He tested well, but turn on the tape. And at the cornerback position specifically, I always like corners who play with good feel, who play with good instincts, and what backs that up, pass breakup numbers, being able to read the wide receiver who you're covering, being able to read what the offense is doing, being able to read the quarterback's eyes and where he might go with the football, but knowing where to be at the right time, right place in order to make a play on the ball. And Asante Samuel Jr. has done that consistently. Again, year by year, 11 PBUs, and 13 PBUs his first 3 years in the league. Tackling issues, a little bit of a problem. I think that you can coach that. His dad shied away from tackling, but his dad also had instincts at the corner spot where he could make plays on the rock, and that is translated to his son. So with that, what is the biggest remaining need for the Niners right now? I want you to show me that you know ball down in the comment section right now. More free agency buzz to get to on the other side. Don't you dare go anywhere. But let me tell you about this deal thanks to our friends at Fanatics. If you want a Niners jersey prior to the start of the 2025 season, you can get yours today. You simply plug in that link down below, chatsports.com/49jersey. You can get a Micah Williams jersey. You can get a Brock Purdy jersey. There are current and former players all up on the Fanatics website. You can get authentic jerseys, replica jerseys, whatever you want. Just use that link down below. Fanatics knows that Chat Sports sent you. Get geared up, get swagged up, and get ready for the 2025 season. I think the Niners bounce back. They flush what was a really difficult season last year so that you can wear this jersey with pride. Next up here on the show, this news breaking earlier on this Thursday, May 8th, that the Carolina Panthers are releasing Jadeveon Clowney. We talked about Clowney a little bit earlier this week, and we had discussed the possibility of him either getting traded or him getting released. I will say, when an individual works for a bunch of companies over a short amount of time and they can't stick with one company, and you look at their resume and you're thinking about hiring them, concerns start to arise, right? And some of the alarms start to sound. You're like, okay, we like your resume, but why have you been with all these companies in a short amount of time? It's a concern. And there's a troubling trend with Jadeveon Clowney, because since leaving the Houston Texans, the team who drafted him out of South Carolina, he hasn't been able to stick with the team for more than 2 seasons. He was with Houston in 2018, Seattle in 2019, Tennessee in 2020, with the Browns back-to-back years in 2021 and 2022, Baltimore Ravens in 2023, Carolina Panthers in 2024. And they decided to just cut him loose. So in 2025, he's going to be with a new team. Is that a locker room concern? Is it a character concern? At times, he hasn't hustled and played at a 100% clip. To some people, just think about what happened with Devondre Campbell. When there are concerns with the individual, sometimes they just linger. Now, I'd be intrigued to take a shot on Clowney because I think players like this can work out if they go to a stable organization where leaders, captains, building blocks, and a foundation is in place. The Niners have that from top to bottom, and Clowney can help you. He is a veteran who is still highly productive the last 2 years, 5.5 sacks, 9.5 sacks, going back to his Cleveland stint. First year there, he had 9 sacks and 2 sacks, and then the Pro Football Focus numbers this past year for Carolina weren't bad. He had a 70.8 overall PFF grade. That was 47th among 211 edge rushers. Pass rush grade of 73.2. That was 30th. Run defense grade, still in the green, not great, not awful, at 63.4. He also had 33 hurries, that was 24th, and 44 pressures, that was 38th among 211 players at that position. You wouldn't ask him to be a starter. You'd ask him to be a rotational depth piece for your football team. He brings toughness, he brings physicality, he brings length, and while he has never lived up to the expectations of being that generational edge rusher who is going to be a multi-time All-Pro that people envision him being when he was coming out of South Carolina, for his entire NFL career, he has been a very solid player. And the Niners do have needs still in the aftermath of the draft, even though they addressed the defensive line along the defensive line. And then lastly, C.J. Mosley. I was looking at an article on ESPN, and they went through all teams in the NFL, and they listed their biggest remaining needs. And they listed off-ball linebacker as a huge need for San Francisco. C.J. Mosley is a player who didn't play in 2024, but did play and flourish under Robert Saleh, has scheme familiarity with the coaching staff, and while he might not be the player who he once was, high character guy, team captain, been productive for a very long time, and I do think that he can still play and help you. I mentioned Devondre Campbell a little while ago when we were talking about Jadeveon Clowney. C.J. Mosley is not that type of personality in the locker room. For instance, Devondre Campbell, when he signed with the Niners, he was ripping Green Bay on his way out the door. Never a fan of that. Now, Mosley, last season, he only played 4 games. Season cut short due to injury. His last full season, though, was in 2023. He played all 17 games, registered 152 tackles, 5 TFLs, 7 pass breakups, still getting it done in coverage. 1 pick, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. His coverage numbers in 2023, pretty solid. Gave up 1 touchdown in coverage, 7 PBUs, as I noted, 1 pick, a lot of passer rating of 99.3. And even though he didn't play in 2020 because he was a COVID opt-out, and even though he only played in 2 games in 2019 due to injury after signing a big deal with the Jets, you look at the numbers there, from 2021 through 2023, 3 straight years of well over 100 tackles. In fact, 3 consecutive seasons of 150 or more tackles, good TFL numbers, really good PBU numbers. And this is a player who throughout his career has been decorated and very accomplished. A 5-time second-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, and this is a Niners linebacking core. You're led by Fred Warner, who is still playing at an elite level in his late 20s, but outside of that, you've remade that room. You drafted Nick Martin in the 3rd round, young player. D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Tatum Bethune, young players. And so C.J. Mosley, Fred Warner, 2 pillars to learn from at that linebacker spot, and again, the connection there with Robert Saleh. So what say you? 4 free agents who the Niners are linked to in some way, shape, or form. Which free agent are you most interested in? Let me know down in the comments section right now.